How and why was the earth made, you ask? There are many stories that have been passed down from generation to generation, but each story is full of gaps and leaves you questioning and wondering what really happened. Billions of years ago, God thought to himself, I want to make a being in my image who will be my counterpart, and we can live loving each other for eternity in a peaceful, harmonious world. In this world, no pain nor sorrow will exist. These beings he would call humankind. He would give them a body so that they could enjoy everything he made for them, and he would place within each one a spirit of their own that would live on for eternity. In order to create this perfect world where these beings could live, he thought very carefully and meticulously about the most magnificent and majestic intelligent design. It was unlike anything seen before. He grew in excitement as he contemplated and designed the world for his beloved to live. So he took his time, creating science to build a world that would be run by the absolute laws he set in place. He began the world with light. Then he separated light from darkness so there would be contrast. The light would be the day, and the darkness would be night, so that time could be counted in days. Then he thought about how to combine different molecules together to form the oxygen in which we would breathe. And so he made the atmosphere consisting of all the different gases to make life bloom and flourish on Earth. Along with the air, he created water so that the land would not be all dry, and the species of the earth could take delight to drink and bathe in it. With all this in place, his canvas was ready to be painted in color. He could finally start on creating the vegetation to blanket the earth with all the most beautiful, vibrant colors from the heavens. He covered the ground with a soft, velvety green and sprinkled the valleys and hills with flowers of all different kinds. He let the trees blossom with flowers which would become fruit that could be eaten. He thought, won't this be so sweet and refreshing for my beloved? He declared the land would be a garden for man to pick and eat freely so they would never go hungry. He made sure there was such a wide variety of herbs and plants, the food from the earth would never get dull or lack flavor. Next, he created the sun and the moon so that there would be a grand light to shine in the sky, and man could look upon it with awe and wonder. The sun would bring the light of the day, and the moon would govern the night sky. The day would be marked as the sun and moon appeared. Finally, the world looked beautiful and stood out from all the universe. He called his precious blue and green planet Earth. The earth was almost ready for his beloved to dwell. But he first wanted to create other animal species that would teem the waters, land, and sky with movement and exotic wonder for his beloved to enjoy. He appointed humankind to rule over them and be the superior one above all creation. Only humankind would be made in his image, for all of creation was made for them, and after everything else would pass away, his beloved would remain because of the everlasting spirit he would place within them. Finally, the earth was ready to host his beloved. He crafted the human body intricately with his divine hands. He carefully wove together the DNA which would hold the secret to each person's identity. No DNA would be exactly alike. This way, Each person would have their own unique set of characteristics, so they could be skilled in various areas and be used for different purposes so they could live and work together harmoniously. With utmost care and thoughtfulness, he handpicked each feature that he took delight in and found beautiful for the one he loved. At last, his masterpiece was finished. He breathed life into man's lungs and watched as he opened his eyes and took in all the worlds before him. God said, "All that I have made is yours. Take pleasure and rule over this world. Be fruitful and multiply so that this generation and the generations to come will form a kingdom of love to reign together with me. I will teach you my ways and clothe you in righteousness, and you will be the most astonishing being in all of creation. I have a wondrous plan and purpose for you, but you must heed closely to my words so that you will live well with the life I have given you. For the fate of your life is decided through your body. Apart from my word, there is death." The Lord knew that the death he was referring to was spiritual death, eternal damnation. So he gave clear warning to his beloved mankind so that they would not walk that path. However, man was ignorant of the vast spiritual world and the heaven that was prepared for their spirit. They enjoyed all too much the physical world and were filled with passion and lust for everything that was alluring to the eye and apt to touch. They hadn't yet walked with the Lord long enough to know and understand the depths of God's love for them. Being still young and naive, they mistook lust for love, and they burned with passion for each other before they were mature and understanding. Little did they know that as soon as they betrayed God, their spirit was cut off from God's presence, and therefore were doomed to spiritual blindness and separation from God for the remainder of their life. The blood of man became cursed, where even the animals were more pure than they. God was heartbroken and regretted what he had made. The remorse he felt was beyond what he could bear. So for a long and grave period, he turned his back on his beloved and let them live in their primitive ways according to their flesh. For at that time there was silence from God, where no man could hear his voice. But God, in his steadfast, undefeatable nature, would not give up on his purpose. He relentlessly searched the earth far and wide until he could find one person pure in heart who would love him. Through this person, he would birth a new history. He selected people at each time to be his mouthpiece and testify about him to the world so that they would know the truth. Gradually, he began bringing mankind back to him and preparing them for his coming when they would meet him face to face. On that day, at the appointed date, his beloved would be ready, dressed and adorned to meet him at the wedding gate. That day will mark the end of what was and mark the beginning of the wedding banquet that was prepared from long, long ago.
Hi. So this might be a slightly different kind of creation story than you were expecting, but it was inspired from the Bible, from Genesis. But I wanted to present the story of creation in a slightly different perspective, and a perspective that reveals God's deep heart for human beings. From billions of years ago, he was thinking about us and planning a future to live with us because He loves us so much. And this actually relates to my testimony of how I began to first develop my relationship with God. In my next video, I want to share that with you. So please stick around and I'll share with you what was the real inspiration behind this video.